Hakeem Jeffries gets a tough question from CBS about election rigging, and Trump calls out Gavin Newsom for the fake California vote. This is going to be about tactics, about the future of the Democrat Party and Trump's future if Democrats do well this November and in 2026. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots are. Shout out to the Quad Club, my people that watch all 3 videos, which used to be 4 videos, which is why we call it the Quad Club. Come in, let me give you some news. Just the big stuff. Just the big stuff. So we're going to start here. This is a Democrat. Kayvan Schroff says, scary. After Barry Weiss's takeover of CBS, Margaret Brennan sounds like a Newsmax host in this interview with Hakeem Jeffries. He's claiming this Democrat, Brennan, is actually being fair against Hakeem Jeffries. Let's watch.
I want to ask you about something you said. You said Democrats, there are no election deniers on our side of the aisle. You said that back in January. But recently, you've been using the term rigged elections in reference to the upcoming midterms. Democrats were appalled when President Trump used language like that.
Not just were Democrats appalled. By the way, this is a great, tough question. Hats off to this is a new form of news, thanks to Barry Weiss taking over their newsroom. So this is a little bit to the right, asking him a tough question. But remember, those of us who said, when Trump said elections were rigged, when I have said elections were rigged, it was enough to destroy people's entire channel and their entire career on this platform. And now Hakeem Jeffries says elections are rigged. They're going to rig the elections, is what they're calling the gerrymandering. They get a pass. They're allowed to use any vocabulary they want. If the right uses it, we're somehow totalitarians, anti-democracy. Democracy's on the ballot.
How do you justify using that now? Doesn't that undermine faith for voters? You need to show up.
No, I've been using that term in the context of Donald Trump's unprecedented effort to gerrymander congressional maps in a partisan fashion all across the country in order to rig the midterm elections.
Yeah, it's different when we do it. We get a pass. The Democrats, there's only one kind of rigged election, and that's by the Republicans. And then when the Republicans say, you rig an election, they're like, foul. You're anti-American. You're anti this entire democracy.
And deny the ability of the American people to actually decide who should be in the majority as it relates to the House of Representatives.
You know, Democrats are also going through gerrymandering and redistricting.
No. Well, Democrats are going to push back aggressively to make sure that we have fair maps across the country, not partisan gerrymandering, which Republicans have initiated in state after state after state.
That is a lie. The Democrats started gerrymandering and Republicans are a response to it. But the bottom line is, can we just do away with the names? You know, just say gerrymandering is okay and election rigging is fine. Don't just call it out on the other side. Just call it what it, so that whole thing is a giant lie. But here's Tim Pool with a little bit of clarity on this too. It's very rare that I show Tim Pool on this show, but I like this one that he said.
Donald Trump will be deploying election monitors into blue jurisdictions, and the response from Democrats is that he is rigging the elections. I love the argument. The DOJ is going to send people to monitor. They can't do anything else, and that's rigging an election. Let me just stress this one more time for you guys.
We're just going to monitor elections. This is Trump fighting back. He's fighting back in a very effective way, and I approve of this, just to look at elections, and they're calling it rigging. All we want to do is look. Democrats do not want you to see what they're doing. We'll get back to more of that California election and more on the scandal of that Arctic frost stuff. Here's a new document posted by Svetlana Lakova. Grand conspiracy against President Trump is being launched. A grand jury has been ordered by a federal judge to be impaneled in Fort Pierce, Florida. That means we have some good guys over there on January 12th of 2026. So that's this coming January. We could get the grand conspiracy against Trump charges, which will be the Biden DOJ. This will be Merrick Garland is who I want. This order followed a motion by Jason A. Redding Quinones, the recently confirmed U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida. According to Mike Davis, who recently met with Jason Reading Quinones, the grand jury is expected to investigate conspiracies against President Trump by former federal officials such as Joe Biden's FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation and the Mar-a-Lago raid of President Trump's home to seize and hide the evidence of their Crossfire Hurricane crimes. Guilty. So we'll be covering that on January 12th, 2026. We hope that they come out with the right decision. Make sure you subscribe to not miss out on any of that news. But wait, there's more. Here's a new Trump tweet. After winning 3 elections by a lot, all caps, I am now getting the best polling numbers I've ever received. People see how strong the economy is. Now, he's already digging at the Democrats by saying he won 3 elections. The trillions of dollars of investment pouring into our country, the record-setting strong border after years of millions of criminals pouring through it, totally unvetted and unchecked, ending 8 wars in 8 months, no men playing in women's sports, no transgender for everyone, rapidly falling energy prices, and much more. Despite all of this, the radical left losers are taking fake ads, not showing real polls, but rather saying that I'm polling at low levels, which we have documented Democrats saying that, though it's false. These are the people that I've been beating for years, and I'm continuing to do so, but by even larger margins. These ads should not be allowed to run because they're a fake lie. We're going to get to more on the election, but first, a word from our sponsor, Chapter. Medicare annual enrollment is now through December 7th. This is the time where all Medicare recipients can select their Medicare plan for 2026. My seniors, Doug in Exile audience, are getting plastered with mailers and robocalls where carriers claim to have the best plan, when in reality, they're just giving you the plans they make the most money from, not the one that's right for you. Chapter reviews every plan nationwide to make sure you're on the best one. Chapter can review your options in under 20 minutes. If you're already on the right plan, they'll tell you. If not, they'll help you switch. But look, here's a message from one of you. You wrote to me, thanks for the Chapter connection. Between my hubby and myself, we're saving close to $2,000 a year. Guys, what other channel helps you save $2,000 a year? That's why I'm so happy to be partnered with Chapter. They're actually good for you, but you're going to have to make the call. Look, I can lead the horse to water for free and unbiased Medicare help. Call my friends at Chapter 631-961-8696. The number is pinned in the description and pinned in the comments. Tell them Doug in Exile sent you. Okay, here's Ari Fleischer. Remember, he used to work for the Bush administration, and even he's coming around to MAGA's side when Obama CIA director John Brennan screams he's being prosecuted out of revenge. Remember this column by Byron York, and I quote Byron York a lot. I really trust him as a journalist. It's hard to conclude Brennan did not lie to Congress about the Steele dossier. There's revenge, and then there's the truth. Sometimes they're the same. Now, I'm only calling this out because Ari Fleischer is a total rhino, total Bush rhino. And when he comes out and says, this is not politicization, Brennan, you lied to Congress. Here's Byron York's take on how John Brennan actually lied to Congress. The Justice Department is evaluating criminal referral, accusing former CIA director John Brennan of lying to Congress. In the referral, Republican members of the House allege that Brennan lied to investigators trying to figure out what the nation's intelligence agencies did in their pursuit of President Trump. Going back to that grand conspiracy is coming up with the grand jury coming up this January 26th. I'm going to keep reminding you of that. Over the Russia collusion matter, the case is a strong one, says Byron York. And Byron York is also not a big MAGA guy. He's semi-rhino. He says it started back in 2017 with the Steele dossier. That, of course, did not stop the FBI from embracing it. And here's the things that add up for Hill investigators, given that the FBI was doing. One might have expected that the CIA would have played some role in the whole dossier saga. So this is Brennan knew. It was his job to know. And my prediction is he's going down. Now, here's a great one. This one is on Ruben Gallego. Watch this. Exchange. We're going to prove him totally wrong after this. Ruben Gallego out of Arizona.
If Republicans shut down the government next time Democrats are in charge, to extract whatever it
Like you
is
did the
that
last
they
couple
happen
times.
to want. Are you saying that's okay? Are you saying that's okay if they do that?
I mean, the
next time
Republicans
now
have done this quite a while, yes. Yeah, the
What
Republicans have
did
done
you
this
say
a
about
lot.
it?
I mean,
What did you say about it when they did it?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Okay. I don't know and I don't care. Last time when the Republicans shut down the government, that's what Ruben Gallego says. I don't know and I don't care. What a nice guy. What a jerk. Kerry Lake, come on. I went back and looked up. Look, here's a reminder. In 2013, he said of Republicans, you can't shut down the government and still claim to be a patriot. In 2019, when we shut it down, he said putting the country in danger. In 2023, he said putting the country, they should put the country before party. So they have no values, nothing. They're going to do all of this against us. This goes to all the election integrity stuff, whether if we do oversight over the votes, they're going to lie about it when it suits them. It's true for me, but not for thee. That's the Democrat way. Here's Arctic frost probe targeting Trump conservatives born at the highest levels of the Biden White House and the Department of Justice. We're just putting a little more color on this article. Members of the Biden White House and leaders of the Biden era Justice Department and FBI were all involved in efforts linked to launch of the Arctic frost investigation, which targeted then former President Donald Trump and the MAGA world over the events surrounding January 6, 2021, which was entirely fake. Recently declassified revelations related to the FBI's Arctic frost investigation chronicle the 2022 lawfare assault against then former President Donald Trump and the MAGA world as criminal inquiries, which would soon lead to criminal charges, spun into high gear as Trump leaned toward running for president again. That was what triggered it. That's what I mean by they took this fake news thing that there was an insurrection on January 6th in 2021, is their claim. Now, there was trespassing. I don't condone trespassing. I'm against even going over velvet ropes, okay? That doesn't justify the complete weaponization of government against Trump. Impeach him twice, make him into a felon. They tried to imprison him, and they'll do it again. New evidence shows then Attorney General Merrick Garland. That's my number one scalp I want. I want to see him behind bars. I believe he is the highest ranked person, the most guilty of all of them, and the go-between Biden and all of these things with Jack Smith. Then Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, she's the one that Trump says has blood all over her hands too. And then FBI Director Christopher Wray signed off on the launch of the Arctic frost inquiry into the Trump-related and Capitol riot. Unearthed emails also show that the Biden White House counsel's office coordinated. That's the emails I want to see that the White House coordinated with. That would be with Nathan Wade, Fani Willis's dumb boyfriend, Fani Willis herself, and Letitia James, who took multiple trips to the White House where it was coordinated. That one dude went and worked, Corico or whatever his name is, worked for Alvin Bragg with an anti-Trump FBI agent. So an anti-Trump FBI agent, they conspired with him to hand over phones which had belonged to Trump and vice president. So they confiscated Trump and Pence's phones and started pulling all this information on it. That has to be illegal. Here's more from Byron York when reading his piece about how John Brennan lied to Congress on the Washington Examiner. Remember that a few years earlier, the CIA under Brennan actually wiretapped the Senate Intelligence Committee, and Brennan lied about that too. That's another charge that we get against Brennan. Now we're going to get to the elections. Here's Fox News on, it says, I feel like we aren't talking enough about the fact that two of our most powerful cities are about to be overrun. Watch the last video if I said, I'm not as worried about Antifa as I am about the Islamic radicals. Here's two of them. Two communists are taking over. Communist Muslims. In Minneapolis, you have Omar Fateh. In New York City, you have Zoran Mamdani. How did we get here?
About that. Free lawyers for illegal immigrants, and there's more where that came from. But he's not the only one. Across the country, there are more. Two more examples. In Minneapolis, Omar Fateh is running. He wants to fund non-police programs, keep homeless encampments, and stabilize rent. You hear that a lot from the socialists, and you can understand why. Rents are high.
They're coming in to pretend like they care about high rents, and really they're going to install an Islamic regime under Sharia law. That's what I believe the big plan is and the big threat. They use our Constitution against us of, make no law against a religion. And they're going to bring in Islam because they hate Christianity, frankly, and Judaism, but primarily Christianity. And they're willing to ally with Islamic radicals if that's what it takes to take over. That's what I believe is the end game for these people. Let's move on to more. Here's back to that election because so much revolves around California with Gavin Newsom's Prop 50 redistricting, okay? This is about the San Joaquin Valley where I grew up in Denair and Turlock. They're a hinge because that Prop 50 that Gavin Newsom's trying to push will allow the acceptance of their redistricting. That's what has to be stopped here in November. If you're in California, in my homeland of San Joaquin Valley, you guys got to vote no on Prop 50.
The way the voting system is structured, we see quite a few flaws. You're able to register even if and cast a vote if you don't live in the country, as evident of his brother in Pakistan. And I think we have some evidence of 2 or 3 other people out of the country that voted. Is that correct?
Yeah, approximately 2 or 3 other people out of the country, as well as people residing outside of the district.
Okay, we have at least 3 people proven to be voting from outside of the country because of how loose we are on checking votes in California. Here's how they encourage people to break the law and lie on their, because they don't double check what you put down on your ballot registration.
The online voter registration system, it seems to be an honor system. Anybody can put information in there to register to vote. All you have to do is click a box and say that you're not lying, and then you'll get an email from the Secretary of State or something in the mail saying, thank you for registering to vote. And there you are. Once you're on the voter rolls, anytime an election comes around, guess what? You get mailed a ballot, right? You get mailed something to vote. So we found that a little bit problematic.
So all you got to do, there's no ID required. This is the whole thing. They need ID requirements, which Trump's going to get into. Here's Monica Crowley, I'm sorry. President Trump, on the stolen 2020 election, we now know everything. Buckle up. This is what I'm talking about, guys. This is evidence that Trump has something. Monica Crowley is Trump's right-hand man. She's in his administration. And she says, we now know everything, buckle up. Here's Trump's tweet. This is from, yesterday. He starts with the NBA players, okay? And he spins it into the Democrat cheating on elections. The 2020 presidential election being rigged and stolen is a far bigger scandal. Look at what happened to our country when a crooked moron became our president. And we now know everything. I believe they've done some stuff to uncover some election integrity issues that we did not have access to before. I think they have some kind of a smoking gun there. I hope the Department of Justice pursues this with as much gusto as befitting the biggest scandal in American history. If not, it will happen again, including with the upcoming midterms. No mail-in or early voting. Yes to voter ID. Watch how totally dishonest the California prop vote is. That's Prop 50 coming up in November with Gavin Newsom. Millions of ballots being shipped, in quotes. Get smart, Republicans, before it's too late. Now, I think that's going to show where their investigation is going. I think they're going to uncover that there's massive voter irregularities in this coming November's election to use it to straighten out the November election in 2026. That's my theory. I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat below what you think. Here's breaking. President Trump will not settle and seeks to proceed with a $10 billion lawsuit over the Wall Street Journal story on Epstein's birthday book. This is about the nudie drawing that Trump allegedly made and signed, that the Wall Street Journal reported on, that Trump gave to Epstein on his birthday, which is totally fake news run by Democrats. Trump sued them for $10 billion. They tried to settle out of court. And this time Trump said, I'm not going to settle. He settled with ABC. He settled with CBS, with Paramount on those issues. He is not settling here. Why? He knows for a fact that he's in the right and that he did not draw that drawing. And he knows he's going to get discovery when he goes into the Wall Street Journal and finds out who is talking to who's leaking to the press, who's doing all this Epstein stuff against him for the Democrat Party is going to be exposed. And we will report on that because that's actual news, unlike the fake allegations of the tabloid Epstein file stuff that is very old news. Now here's more. This is Kevin Kiley, rep in California on the redistricting.
In California. And by the way, the map the politicians drew that they're trying to institute in California isn't just a gerrymandered map. Princeton University analysts called it one of the 2 worst gerrymanders in the last 50 years and gave it an F grade. So when
Hakeem Jeffries says that that they're just doing regular, we're pushing against the Republicans gerrymandering. No, the gerrymandered map that they're asking Californians to pass with Prop 50 is one of the most gerrymandered, extreme, one of the two most in the last 50 years. That's how extreme and ridiculous it is. That's why California, especially in the San Joaquin Valley, my country folk, Bakersfield, Modesto, Fresno, where Victor Davis Hanson lives, you guys got to turn against the population centers of your state. Good luck with that. Here's Ted Cruz. Now, why would the CCP want a communist jihadist Mamdani as mayor of New York City? Are you ready for this? Leaked documents revealed that the Chinese Communist Party owned TikTok allegedly manipulated their algorithm to feed New Yorkers pro-Zoran Mamdani videos over Cuomo. That's what leaked documents say. That just came out. So I'm just saying, guys, why would the Chinese communists want to elect Mamdani? They're working with the Democrat Party. Do you believe it's all rigged? As Hakeem Jeffries says, I disagree with, YouTube, don't come after me. I agree with Hakeem Jeffries. These elections, I'll quote Hakeem Jeffries, are rigged. Subscribe. I'm Doug, in exile, and call chapter.